This program is sponsored by Dental Med Alliance, LLC.
I'm Dr. Jessica Saepoff, and this show has been on the air for over, I think, is Benny 8, 9 years, 10, how many years?
We're
Since
getting
2011?
really close
End
to
of
double
2010?
digits. Yeah, we're getting real close.
Very good. Yes, and all of my archives are available on 1150kknw.com under the Dental MD radio show. So you can go back and listen to any of my previous shows on different topics. If you have a particular question or issue, or you just want to know more about the holistic natural medicine approach to any particular dental topic, like gums, tooth decay, extractions, wisdom teeth, orthodontics, TMJ therapy, root canals, overall health and how that impacts the oral health and vice versa. Oral health impacts your general systemic health. And any of those topics, I've covered them in different ways over the years from different angles. And so chances are you'll find a show that is right, correlates with what your questions are about your health issue or your family's health issue. And today I'm going to focus on gums and gum disease, keeping your gums healthy. And if you have questions about what I'm talking about today or any other topics, you can also give us a call at the office. That's 206-257-4921, or reach us by email, appointments@naturaldentist.com. Sometimes email is easier because you can look at your email when you have a chance, and you don't necessarily have to be sitting by the phone for a call back from us if we're busy or away from the desk. So try emailing. Sometimes that's a more efficient way. And we're working on getting another phone line installed, because sometimes they're busy, all the lines are busy, and it isn't even possible to get a message recorded. So we're working on that problem. So in the meantime, email is going to work very well for you. Now, the website, naturaldentist.com, has lots of information that I've written on different topics, and there's also a link there to the radio show archives, and you can leave us an email message directly through the website itself. You can click on send us a message, and it comes right to our email, and then we'll get right back to you. All right. So today I'm going to talk about gums. And the reason I do this show at all is because people don't really get to hear a lot of alternative views unless you really have to know what questions to ask in order to get new information. And sometimes people don't know what questions to ask because your questions are based on what you've already been told. So I'm here to talk about it in a very broad way and from other perspectives, such as the approach according to natural medicine, so that you can have new ideas and form new questions and get new answers and directions to help yourself and your family to stay healthy and get healthy. Now, when it comes to your gums, there are some very well-known connections to the health of the rest of your body. It's not a coincidence that vitamin C and coenzyme Q10 are both good for your gums and your cardiovascular system. That's not a coincidence, and it's a well-known fact, and has been for a long time, that the health of your gums appears to be correlated with the health of your arteries. Now, those correlations are, there is some controversy about what those correlations are and which direction it goes. It's been said by mainstream sources that if you have pockets around your teeth in the gum line so that bacteria are getting onto the gums and living on the roots, we can measure how deep down those bacteria have been able to go. And if you have more than 4 millimeters of depth, then you are, according to mainstream views, you are at risk for cardiovascular problems. And the idea was that dentists should, if they find that you have gum pockets, they should refer you back to your physician and your cardiologist to be evaluated. And, if you're stuck in the mainstream medical model, you're probably going to end up on some medications as well. But my approach is to look at everything from the standpoint of natural medicine. So that means we do give you the referral, and we also talk about what the least invasive and least toxic ways are to heal things and promote the body healing itself, ideally. So if you have pockets around your teeth where the bacteria can sneak in along the gum line and work their way down, irritating and causing inflammation in the attachment where the gum tissue attaches to your tooth and bone down below, what they do is they get in there and they give off their toxic, irritating chemicals, and that causes a loosening of the attachment and allows them to move in deeper and deeper and deeper until they are all the way down, living happily on your roots, deep enough under the gums so that oxygen isn't a bother for them anymore. And now, once it gets to 5 millimeters, and that's not really very much, but it is officially gum disease if you have 5 millimeter pocket depths around your teeth. And now anaerobes can be harbored down there. So that's a whole nother type of bacteria, and they tend to be more smelly and do more damage. So there are a lot of ways to prevent these guys from invading your gum line in the first place. So I'm going to talk about just basic ways to keep your gums healthy and try to prevent this invasion around the gum line. And I'm also going to talk about what to do if it has been found that you've had this invasion going on. Now, when it comes to gum disease and infection around the gums and inflammation, this is one of those problems that has no pain. You're not going to have pain. You're going to notice your gums bleed, perhaps, but that's not even always present. Some people have pockets and gum disease, and they do not have superficial bleeding. They don't necessarily notice bleeding when they brush and floss, although it is common. And you can have bleeding gums, easily bleeding gums, and have no gum disease. And in that case, it's just a superficial inflammation of the collar around the tooth. That part of the gum tissue, just the very top edge, can become inflamed and bleed easily. So, the implication has been from the mainstream that if you can get rid of the pockets or treat them or get them cleaned up and reduce them from 5 millimeters to 4 or 3, that you can solve the cardiovascular problem, like that you can fix this other area of your body by fixing your gums. That's the implication, but I don't know if that's always the case, and I'm going to be doing some research and find out really what research is out there on that question. I'm going to be talking more and more in the upcoming months about the connection between the oral cavity, oral health, and the health of the rest of your body, or systemic health. And that's the oral systemic link. Sometimes it's called the mouth-body connection. Just depends on who's naming it, but the idea is essentially the same. And a lot of systemic issues can manifest and show up in the mouth, but other things start in the mouth and migrate in various ways to other parts of your body. And so it can go in both directions. And there are a lot of schools of thought on this. There are homeopathic physicians have their way of talking and thinking about this particular topic, and Chinese medicine has another way. And there's, face diagnosis and tongue diagnosis, and they look at the tongue and they say, aha, your gallbladder has a problem. I can see it right here on your tongue. And then there's like acupuncture way of looking at it, where the acupuncture meridians that are throughout your body do pass through your mouth and do pass through your teeth, and a given tooth is connected through meridians to the other organs that are on that meridian in your body. And before that was understood, what meridians were and how they may function, we had something that sounded very similar called the focal infection theory, where a certain tooth with an infection or gum infection around a particular tooth seemed to be correlated with a body structure distant from that. And that was the focal infection theory, which before people in the medical profession understood about Chinese medicine and meridians and acupuncture and the connections of distant structures via meridians, the mainstream quickly went out and claimed that this connection between a tooth and a problem in a distant part of your body they claimed it was debunked. And once somebody in the mainstream says, oh, that's been debunked, that's supposed to be the end of the conversation. But now there's more research and more understanding about other schools of thought, other systems of medicine that seem to be reminding us of these old theories that were supposedly debunked and maybe weren't. And so the mouth-body connection and discussing it's a very interesting topic, because there have been a lot of differences of opinion between mainstream and holistic and natural medicine over the past century or more, maybe 2 centuries, regarding these different schools of thought and what causality is. So today I'm talking about gums specifically, and how to keep them healthy and what to do if they are unhealthy from the standpoint of natural medicine. So you are listening to Dental MD. I'm Dr. Jessica Saepoff, and I will be back after this break.
All right, we're going to start with this. Forget what you know about going to the dentist. I'm talking those painful procedures, metal debris flying all around, heavy drugs dulling your senses. Do your smile a favor, even do your body a favor. Learn about Natural Dental Health Associates. It's just located right off the I-90 on Mercer Island. Natural Dental Health Associates offers only those treatments that are comfortable, safe, and effective. Suffer from TMJ, snoring, sleep apnea? Well, then you'll want to log on to naturaldentist.com. Want to ditch the headgear? Log on to naturaldentist.com. Worried your kids aren't getting the best care possible? Again, log on to naturaldentist.com. Natural Dental Health Associates has received a 5-star EnviroStar rating for the last 20 years. You can't fake caring. You can't fake commitment. So start with naturaldentist.com and end with the smile you deserve.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Alternative Talk 1150, here to uplift your day.
Welcome back. You're listening to Dental MD. I'm Dr. Jessica Saepoff, and today I'm talking about gums, healthy gums, gum disease. Some of the other names for this are periodontitis, and there's an old term that's no longer used called pyorrhea. That's the infection of the gums. And perio, the part of the word that's perio, that just means around. And dont means dent or tooth. And so periodontics is the specialty of dentistry that refers to the tissue around the tooth. So that would be the periodontium or the gum tissue. And below the gum is the bone. And the bone is also attached to the tooth down below. It attaches to the root with little tiny ligaments. And when you get up to the crest of the bone, that's covered with like a carpeting of gum tissue. So you don't see the bone, you see the pink gums. And above the level of the bone, the gum tissue sits, and the bone is attached to the root, and then the gum tissue attaches to the root at the very top of the root, right below where the enamel starts. It does not attach to the enamel. It attaches to the dentin, or the cementum is a layer on the surface of the root that the gum tissue can attach to. Now, anybody that's had root planing or deep cleanings at a dental office, and they numb the area, and then they take sharp instruments and they work their way around the root, making it glassy smooth to try to keep bacteria from being able to stick to the root. In the process of doing this, I mean, there's a reason it's called root planing. Planing, do you know what it looks like when you plane a piece of wood and you see wood curls coming up as you're planing the wood? Well, root planing is the same process. It's very tiny. You don't see little curls, but technically what they are removing from your root is the surface layer, the cementum. The cementum happens to be the layer that the gum tissue and the little ligaments, periodontal ligaments, can attach to. Once that cementum is gone, the root may be very clean and glassy smooth, but I don't think any periodontal ligament or gum tissue will ever adhere to it again. So there are different schools of thought on what the right treatment is once you have bacteria that have invaded and are living down below on the roots. And it is important, if you're going to have healing, to get those bacteria out of there. They don't belong in there, and they do damage when they're in there. And so they have to be cleaned away. But is there a way to clean them off the root without doing any damage to the root surface itself? Yes, there is, and it's ultrasonics. Ultrasonics is watery and noisy, but it doesn't damage the root surface. Now, I say damage because I'm in the camp that believes that scraping the roots is not a great idea, but I'm in the very, very small minority. The mainstream view and the view of the specialists in periodontics, the gum specialists, the periodontists, are still very much in favor of eradicating the bacteria through multiple methods, one of which is planing the root using sharp instruments. And to do that, you do have to be numb. And there's also curettage. Root planing and curettage usually are done together. And that's where the root surface is scraped clean, and the instruments are worked on the root until the root is glassy smooth. And the curettage part is where the part of the gum tissue that lies against the root, that inner layer is actually abraded intentionally in order to get some self-cleansing. So there's going to be some bleeding, there's going to be some fluid that helps to come up out of the gum and wash away the bacteria from down below, and also to stimulate the gum tissue by a minor injury, to stimulate your body to send all of the little cells and nutrients to that area to start the healing process. So it kind of accelerates it, jump starts that, it triggers the healing process. That is something that is done to bones as well when you want to stimulate and accelerate the healing. There's a deliberate, like, it's kind of a damage, but it's really just meant to stimulate. It's minor, and it's meant to stimulate the body to send all the healing that it can do to that area, including inflammation, because that's one of the first things the body does. It sends all of its inflammatory chemicals and cells to the area because in the presence of inflammation, there's a lot of rebuilding that can take place. So inflammation can be useful as long as it's not excessive, but inflammation is also almost always associated with pain and discomfort. So these are technically, they're invasive. They're not necessarily crossing a line to where it would be called a surgery, although in terms of the bacteremia that's caused, it is to the rest of your body, it's the same, because as soon as you get in there and there's a little bit of bleeding during the cleaning, bacteria from your mouth can get into your bloodstream and cause what's called a bacteremia. And that means the bacteria go throughout your body. And if you have other things that have been done, like artificial joints and heart valve replacements or organ replacement or anything else that where the bacteria that get into your bloodstream could set up a colony on these previously corrected areas using artificial parts like artificial hips and other things like that, or artificial valves in your heart. The bacteria that can go through your bloodstream can set up shop in these areas and set up new colonies and cause some terrible problems and the degradation of these new parts that you've had put in. So if you're at risk for that, then anytime you have any dental procedure that could potentially cause bleeding and therefore a bacteremia, dentists have been told in the past, and still under certain very specific circumstances, to cover you, the patient, with antibiotics. So if you've known people or if you've ever been told that you should have antibiotics before a dental procedure, it's only the procedures that cause or can likely result in a bacteremia that will be the procedures that you would need antibiotics before. Now, people think, oh, I'm just going to the dentist to have my teeth cleaned. I'm just getting a cleaning. It's not surgery. It's not dental treatment. Well, yes, it actually is. And even though the dentist may not be the one doing that, a hygienist may be doing it, the dental cleaning causes more bacteremia than almost everything else done in a dental office short of surgery on gums or teeth. So the fact is that if you have bleeding gums and you are flossing and brushing at home and you see bleeding happening when you're flossing and brushing, you are causing a bacteremia yourself every day at home. It's really important to deal with bleeding gums because if you're at risk, and even if you're not, it's still not good for the rest of your body to have this repeated bacteremia, chronic bacteremia, daily, because it's bacteria from your mouth that can be, some of them are pretty nasty bugs, and they are set free and roam around your entire bloodstream until your white blood cells can grab them and take them over and kill them, which happens after a few minutes of circulating. But it's not something you want to have going on. Your bloodstream is not supposed to be full of bacteria every day. You're not supposed to be getting a full body bacteremia every day. It's not healthy, and your body isn't supposed to have to mount a response to that frequently. But the point is that just getting your teeth cleaned is actually quite a procedure. It's a dental procedure. It cannot be done without first doing an exam, even though the public thinks of it as just a cleaning. It is dental treatment. And as I've said, it can result in bacteremia and frequently does, and therefore it's to be taken very seriously. And the type of cleaning that you get is dependent on the exam, which will tell us how your gums are. What's the condition of your gums? What kind of a cleaning do you need? What kind of intervention do you need? Or is everything perfectly healthy? And of course, when I look in, I hope to find everything perfectly healthy, nice pink gum tissue tight around the collars of the teeth, no invasion, and no signs of inflammation. All right, I'm talking about gums today. You're listening to Dental MD. I'm Dr. Jessica Saepoff. If you want to ask questions about this or any other topic, or make an appointment to see me for an exam and any other dental work that you think you might need or that it turns out that you need, go ahead and call us or email. The email is appointments@naturaldentist.com, and the phone number is 206-257-4921. And I'll be right back after this break.
I'm Dr. Anthony Lazarowitz, and this is Climate Connections. On 87 acres of land owned by the city of Fayetteville, Arkansas, solar panels absorb the sun's rays. Last year, the city partnered with the local utility and a solar developer on a pair of 5-megawatt installations, which went online in September. They now generate enough electricity to fully power the city's 2 wastewater treatment plants. Peter Nierengarten is Fayetteville's environmental director.
In total, those plants use about 66% of the total electricity consumed by City of Fayetteville government operations.
So he says the project takes the city a long way towards meeting its goal of powering all city facilities with renewable energy by 2030. And it saves money, because the city buys the solar power at a rate slightly lower than what it paid for electricity from the utility.
It just made really good economic sense for us. It made good energy sense for us. It made good political sense for us.
Nierengarten encourages other cities to switch to renewables.
It's not that difficult. The price of renewables, particularly solar, has come way down. These types of projects are very accessible and, with the right partner, very doable.
Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. Learn more at yaleclimateconnections.org.
Time is funny. Sometimes it seems fast and other times slow. When it comes to time slots remaining on Alternative Talk 1150, time is running out. In fact, there are just a few primetime slots available. So if you want to host your own radio program, the time to call 425-653-1150 is right now. Nope, no time for excuses. Dial 425-653-1150 to find out how affordable it can be to host a radio show. Alternative Talk, we have an opportunity waiting just for you.
Don't let that herd mentality lead you off a cliff. We support thinking for yourself on Alternative Talk 1150.
It's all right.
Welcome back. You're listening to Dental MD. I'm Dr. Jessica Saepoff. Today I'm talking about gums and gum health and keeping your gums healthy or getting them healthy after there's been a problem. Now, I'm going to talk about the differences between kids, teens, and adults in terms of gums, because the things that we look for and the problems we see are different in different age groups. So for the kids, generally children do not get the deeper forms of gum disease. They don't get bacteria invading around the gum line and living on roots. That can happen to teenagers, however. There's a special kind of gum disease called juvenile periodontitis, and it can be very severe, and teenagers can have very deep gum pockets with a lot of infection around the teeth, and if this is not, it tends to be pretty aggressive, and if this is not caught and dealt with aggressively, it can result in the loss of teeth as young adults, and that is really very unfortunate. But a lot of times, it's just a teenager and the gums are red and bleeding, and people just assume that it's from not brushing enough. But this is where taking x-rays and doing the measurements is very important, because on an x-ray you can see if there's been bone loss around and in between the teeth. And without that x-ray, you can't know for sure whether the bone has been affected or to what degree. And measuring around the gums, if it's just garden variety gingivitis, as we say, where just the collar around the teeth, the edge of the gum line is inflamed, that's gingivitis. That's not gum disease. It is a problem with the gums, but it's not technically periodontitis. That is not classified as such until the pocket depths are 4 millimeters or greater. And it used to be 5 millimeters or greater, but now 4 millimeters is 1 millimeter deeper than what's considered normal and healthy. So 4 millimeters means that there's been some what we call attachment loss, and the bacteria have already been able to erode that periodontal ligament that's used by the gum tissue to attach to the tooth. So 1 millimeter of attachment loss means that sometime, either currently or sometime in the past, there's been loss of the ligament attachment to the tooth. Now, if it was a long time ago and everything's been treated and the home care is very good and there's no inflammation and it's a 4 millimeter pocket, but every time it's measured, it's still a 4 and it never bleeds and it never changes, that is not an infected pocket. That is simply a deep sulcus that needs care and attention to make sure that it doesn't get any deeper, because 4 millimeters, if the bacteria can get down that far, it's kind of hard to keep a 4 millimeter pocket clean at home. It's not easy. Floss can get down 3 millimeters, but it can't really get down much past that unless you're willing to push hard enough to actually cut your gums and get that. Well, of course, I don't want you to do that. That would be the wrong way to floss, but that would be the only way floss could reach all the way to the bottom of a 4 millimeter depth. So don't do that. Floss, get down to your 3 millimeters, 2 to 3 millimeters around every tooth. And if you have 4 millimeter pockets that have been there a long time and are pretty healthy, or even if they're not, the only way you're going to be able to actually clean those at all at home is with an irrigator. You have to gently flood the gum line area with some liquid. And a lot of people just use water, and that's better than nothing. But you can add some dissolved baking soda or whole salt that's full of, rich with minerals, or you can put some hydrogen peroxide and cut that with some water and jet that gently. I shouldn't even use the word jet. Gently flood the gum tissue. You want it on a low setting. Even medium can be a little bit harsh, and it can actually cause a little bit of damage down below if you're jetting the water or the liquid too harshly under the gums. You can force stuff further in, and you don't want to do that. So less is more. Low setting, just gently flood the gum line between all of your teeth. And it means you have to really look in the mirror and watch what you're doing, or you can go by feel, but don't skip any teeth, and don't do it kind of on autopilot where you're, thinking about the next thing you're going to do that morning while you're working on cleaning your teeth and irrigating your gums. Be present. Focus on what you're doing. Don't skip areas. When you give something your attention, there's an energetic component to that where you're being intentional. And I actually do believe that makes a difference to the healing. When you pay attention to what you're doing, you're in a listening mode. You're actually in a watching and listening presence with your gums and the tool that you're using, which is your irrigator. So try being vigilant and present with the task at hand. Sometimes people go on autopilot with brushing, and I'll recommend doing little tricks to help yourself become more present with what you're doing, such as switching hands or using a different toothbrush, which forces you to pay attention again because it feels different. And so your attention is on it again. So watch out for autopilot. That is not a mode that is very helpful when you're trying to solve a problem with your gums. So for young children, the main thing that they need to do is just keep the plaque off. And one of the ways to reduce the amount of plaque that grows is to not eat things that are the plaque's favorite food. And that's exactly the way that I tell kids this. When you eat something that's got sugar, the bacteria in your mouth are jumping up and down. They love that. They grow very fast and very thick on your teeth because that's their favorite food. So don't feed them their favorite food. And if they're allowed to hang around on your teeth for too long, they begin to cause problems with your teeth. And you can get puffy gums, but you can also get, cavities, of course. So it is important not to feed the plaque bacteria their favorite foods, which is really any refined carbs. Now, children just need to be taught how to clean their teeth. Once they reach a certain age and the permanent molars are coming in the back, that's going to push the primary teeth together so that when you do floss, you're going to hear that snappy flossing. When kids are 1 and 2, generally the teeth have some spacing, or they are supposed to have spacing, and the brush bristles can get in between everywhere adequately. If the child does not have their 6-year molars yet, but the teeth are together, that indicates that there may be a problem with crowding. And so you want to look into some orthodontic expansion, possibly, to create the space that's going to be needed when those permanent teeth start coming in. Now, one of the things that can cause gum inflammation in any age group is metal, because some people, actually quite a lot of the population, is allergic to nickel. So if there's been a crown placed, sometimes in children, stainless steel crowns will be placed over teeth that had a lot of decay. Those metal crowns have a nickel component. There's some nickel in them, and nickel is a very common allergen. And what it causes, usually not a systemic allergy response, but a local allergy response, which is inflammation and like a local dermatitis, almost like an itchy, bumpy, but with the gums, it looks like red and puffy and bleeding. And if you see that, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not, insufficient home care, not enough brushing and flossing. Sometimes there's plenty of brushing and flossing, totally adequate, and yet the gums continue to be puffy and swollen or receding away from that metal. And that could be because of an allergy to one of the metal components in those crowns. And that can happen to anybody of any age. If there are braces, metal braces placed on the teeth, that can cause this kind of big, puffy, bleeding gums response. And most of the time you'll be told, oh, your child is not brushing enough around those braces or around those crowns. And even adults, when they have crowns or orthodontic braces, they're told the same thing. You need to brush more, floss more. You're not cleaning your teeth enough. Because for some reason, the reality of allergies to some of the metals just gets overlooked. It gets overlooked. People are not conscious and aware when they're looking at your gums that it could be an allergic reaction, especially if it's around the metal areas and not around the areas where there's no metal. So just a little closer look and a little more effort in diagnosis, and some of these problems can be pretty easily solved. Well, not easily, because replacing all the metal is not necessarily easy, but simple solution. Now, adults, once you have pockets, teens or adults, once the pockets are 4 millimeters or deeper, anaerobes can begin to grow. Those are the bacteria that don't need oxygen. They don't want light. They don't want air. They don't want oxygen. That's why irrigating is so good for these areas, because especially with hydrogen peroxide, because that you're literally flooding under the gums with oxygen, and that is going to very quickly wipe out anaerobes. And once they are killed and gone, the gum tissue actually has a chance to try to reattach down below and tighten back up. And if you can get 5 and 6 millimeter pockets to tighten back up and be measurable at 3 and 4 millimeters instead of 5 or 6, then you still have to be careful. You still have to monitor these areas, but you're pretty much, if that can be made stable, then you're pretty much out of the woods as far as worsening gum disease. And gum disease is one of the main reasons adults lose their teeth, because not only the gums get puffy and infected, but the bone that's holding the tooth in your head down below is eroding and disappearing because of all of the inflammation and the invasion of these bacteria. All right, I'm going to take a break here in a moment. You're listening to Dental MD. I'm Dr. Jessica Saepoff. If you want to reach my office to ask questions or make appointments, you can reach us by email, appointments@naturaldentist.com, or by phone, 206-257-4921. And the office is located on Mercer Island along I-90 in Lake Washington. All right, I'll be right back after this break.
$145 over $92.
180 over 111.
182 over 100. And I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest, and then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life.
A lot of people don't understand, including myself. I didn't, now I do, the impact of having a stroke.
My memory is shot.
When I woke up, I couldn't speak.
Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
It's a new life, but I'm gonna make it better. I'm coming back. Ask your doctor, check your blood pressure.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
All right, we're going to start with this. Forget what you know about going to the dentist. I'm talking those painful procedures, metal debris flying all around, heavy drugs dulling your senses. Do your smile a favor. Even do your body a favor. Learn about Natural Dental Health Associates. It's just located right off the I-90 on Mercer Island. Natural Dental Health Associates offers only those treatments that are comfortable, safe, and effective. Suffer from TMJ, snoring, sleep apnea? Well, then you'll want to log on to naturaldentist.com. Want to ditch the headgear? Log on to naturaldentist.com. Worried your kids aren't getting the best care possible? Again, log on to naturaldentist.com. Natural Dental Health Associates has received a 5-star EnviroStar rating for the last 20 years. You can't fake caring. You can't fake commitment. So start with naturaldentist.com and end with the smile you deserve.
Alternative Talk, 1150 on AM, 98.9 HD3 on HD, 1150kknw.com on the web.
Welcome back. You're listening to Dental MD. I'm Dr. Jessica Saepoff. Today I'm talking about gums and keeping them healthy and getting them healthy. I want to start this segment talking about the tools, toothbrushes, floss, irrigators. Those are the main things that you can use at home. And I do definitely frown on anybody at home using any kind of scaler. Those are the sharp scraping instruments that we use at the dental office. I know it's tempting, especially when there's buildup of calcium on the teeth and you want to get that off of there. But the reason I do not recommend people use those tools at home is because you will scratch the tooth surface. The tooth surface, once it has a scratch, that is a place where the bacteria will go first. You'll actually, when these are severe, you will see the bacteria or even feel them with your tongue growing in a line on the tooth where there's a scratch on the tooth or a crack on the tooth. That can happen, but you don't cause those with those instruments. But it is those instruments have to be used correctly. They have to be, I hardly ever even use those anymore because they do cause scratches on the teeth. And even though at the dental office we use an abrasive tooth polisher, the purpose of that is supposedly to remove the scratches caused by the scaling instruments. So the hygienist will scratch off all the, maybe plane off all of the calcium buildup and bacteria and everything from below the gums and above the gums where you can see it. And then they do the polishing. And the polishing can only be done on the part of the tooth that's out of the gum tissue. You can't polish down below on the roots. That's one of the reasons that they go over it and over it and over it until it's glassy smooth. But the calcium buildup is a separate thing from soft plaque buildup. Soft plaque should be able to be removed with a toothbrush. And I want to talk about toothbrushes here for a moment. There are a lot of different kinds out there, and you don't want to use hard bristles because those can abrade your gum tissue. And if you abrade the gum tissue, you can actually thin it out and cause irritation, and you can actually cause recession of the gums if you abrade your gum tissue. Some people scrub their gums because until their gums are tingly, they don't feel like they've gotten them clean, but that's not correct. If your gums feel tingly after you've finished brushing, you have scrubbed, you have brushed too hard, and you could have removed the top cell layer of your gum tissue, and you could potentially cause recession, which is root exposure. You can't actually cause root indentations on the teeth using plastic brush bristles. even though some people think you can, you actually cannot. But you can cause root exposure, not nerve exposure, root exposure, by abrading away the gum tissue that's covering the root and protecting it. So watch what you're doing. Be present as you're brushing your teeth. Use soft or medium's not even that good. Use soft bristled brushes. Work them in around the gum line gently. Make sure they go between the teeth a little bit. And, plaque actually will come off of your teeth faster with warm water. You can use whatever toothpaste you like. I'm not a big advocate of anything with chemicals, foaming agents, aluminum, or fluorides, or anything abrasive in the toothpaste. So watch out for some of the natural brands that have not been checked or tested for abrasiveness. Even if you're gentle with those, if you're just massaging it in along the gum line and really watching what you're doing, you're not going to cause any damage with those. If it's got clay, which is basically sand, and other things in them that can be very abrasive. But you could, if you take some of those more abrasive toothpastes or powders and you scrub your teeth with those with a hard bristled brush, say that 10 times fast, you can gradually remove your enamel. You can remove your enamel by eating lemons too, just dissolving the enamel right off of your teeth and gradually exposing the darker dentin layer, and your teeth will gradually look more and more yellow. So you really do not want to do that. You want to remove the plaque and then stop. And for children, the electric types of brushes are great for everybody, actually. Everybody, an electric assist toothbrush will remove more plaque faster than you can do with a manual brush. But I still recommend using warm water and, whatever toothpaste or mouthwashes you choose, just make sure they're not abrasive and try to avoid unnecessary chemicals. And for children, they don't need the super expensive sonic types of vibration toothbrushes. Those are great if you have problems down below the gums. You want a toothbrush that's, one of the fancier gum disease type of toothbrushes, like a sonic sound wave toothbrush, because that actually sends vibrations through the gum tissue and into the bone and helps to promote healing down below. And that's great. But children who do not generally get deep pockets or gum disease or bacteria under the gums, they don't need those $100 toothbrushes. You can get them a cheap toothbrush with a cartoon character on it, and that's going to clean their teeth very well. Teach them to pay attention to what they're doing and take their time and actually look at their teeth in the mirror to make sure that the teeth are nice and clean before they walk away. That generally takes about 2 minutes to get the entire mouth clean. As they approach age 5 and 6, they should be starting to floss their teeth. They can learn to do that themselves. You can use floss on a stick. You don't have to wind it around your fingers anymore. There are lots of great tools out there with floss that you can use without having to wind it and put your fingers in your mouth. I think that's more hygienic. I prefer them, but they still have to be used properly and consistently. And then children generally don't need to use a water pick and that's a brand name, but a water irrigator. But teens and adults definitely should. Now, mouthwashes, I heard recently, I've known that if you kill all the bacteria in your mouth is actually supposed to be colonized. It's a lot like your gut. There's a healthy, normal bacterial mixture that's supposed to be in your mouth. So you want to replenish that, just like you do when you take probiotics or eat yogurt that's got live cultures, that kind of thing, to keep your gut healthy. Your mouth is also supposed to be colonized. It's not a good idea to kill off all of it every day like that. There's new research now that shows that nitric oxide can actually be produced, and that's good for you, produced by the bacteria that are supposed to be in your mouth. and that a reduction in this nitric oxide is not a good idea for your overall health. So there are some products that you can chew and swish and swallow that are probiotics that are specifically made for oral health, oral probiotics. And we do have some products available that are oral probiotics that you can get through us or at the office, or you can maybe find them in a health food store perhaps. But I do recommend using those. So you want to, just like in your gut, you don't want the bad guys, you want to promote the good guys. So today I've been talking about gums and gum health, and I did not get into nutrients, but I will do that on the next show. You're listening to Dental MD. I'm Dr. Jessica Saepoff. If you want to reach us by email, appointments@naturaldentist.com, and by phone 206-257-4921. Thank you for listening.
Expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of KKNW, its management, or other advertisers. Contests are the